Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Thursday night. It's like a Saturday Night Live thing. I don't own the rights to Saturday Night Live or any crap like that. But anyway, at the end of the day, welcome to On the Other Side, Leadership After Transition. It's nice to be here. Beautiful day outside by looks, freezing cold down here in Florida today. It was like in the 40s, man, and I was dying. Wanted to wear a sweatshirt and then a jacket and then a hoodie. I'm telling you, but I had to wear this, so therefore I was frozen. Hey, listen, just a little shout out to to O'Brien's and Brandon. If you're not doing anything tomorrow from 5 to 9, man, the Horse Soldier will be out there. They have the American Freedom Distillery have their bourbon out there. So come on out to O'Brien's and Brandon. It's on the corner of Lumsden and Kings. I'll be there from 5 to 9. We'll do some live streaming, have a couple of drinks. I probably won't have too many drinks, but I'd like to shake your hand. Come out and see me. And it's for a good cause. So come on down. I'm going to have a tip jar. And if you just want to tip me because for whatever, I will donate that money somewhere. But anyway, come on down. It'll be a good time just to hang out, maybe have some chicken wings and just enjoy some music and some stories, right? So anyhow, let's move right into what we're here to discuss. Today we have, I like to say it this way because, and he's probably not going to like it too much, but I love to say it this way because I think anybody that puts the middle name, the initial, it's just you have to say it in a manner that it earns respect, right? So Adam T Cummings, right? That's my guest coming up, and I'm gonna bring him on. But I love to say the T. I might change mine to Jeffrey A. Lodick because whenever you have that, there's just some emphasis put on it, and I love it. It's exciting. And hey, Adam, I know you can hear me. I'm not picking on you. I actually like it. That's why I put it in every post I put because I love it. Just so you know, I just don't know if I like the A too much. Anyhow, check this out. I'm going to read his intro or his bio. I like it. I like to typically maybe read like snippets and just give some highlights. But the last couple of shows I've had, they've just been really good. And I don't want to leave anything out because, well, they're actually exceptional people. And I want to ensure that I'm giving them full props. So I'm going to read this for you. And you just absorb how great this dude is. So anyway, Adam T. Cummings is a former United States Marine Sergeant graduate of the University of Tampa. After receiving his accounting degree, Adam realized that more vets like himself were experiencing depression, anxiety, loneliness, and thoughts of suicide as a result of their transition back into society. He knew from firsthand experience how difficult it was to communicate his needs, much less obtain the knowledge of resources that could help. From this realization, Adam founded Vetting America, which combined his love of podcasting, the military, and entrepreneurship to help address the gaps currently being left in the veteran community. As Vetting America enters its second year, and by the way, I'm going to kind of improv here. I got to be a guest on Adam's show a little over a year ago, early on in the beginning, and from the moment he started to the moment he ended season one, it was a joy to watch. All the guests that he brought on were just prominent individuals, very knowledgeable. So check out Vetting America, and we'll get into that as we go. But anyway, I'm going to continue it. Adam's passion and purpose is evident in each interview he gives. Through his intent and his demeanor, Adam's love for his fellow brothers and sisters shines through, leading the way for the rest of our country's vets to gain the strength needed to redefine their lives. Let me tell you something before I bring him on and actually introduce you to him. The very first time I ever met him was in he had a town hall, if you will, kind of trying to see what his idea, how we took to his idea. He sent out a bunch of messages to people he didn't know. He wanted to bring the veteran community in, and he stood in front of about 50 folks talking about his vision. Now, I got to tell you, when I show you, he's a young man. And when I actually got to see him talk, I was truly impressed because he reminded me of me, but with so much more passion. And I got to tell you, if I'm talking about leadership, I'm passionate. I'm the loudest one in the room. If I'm talking about baseball, hands down, there's no one talking louder than me. Even if I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I'm talking loud, right? Well, this guy, he truly impressed me. And from that moment on, that evening, I think I sent him an email 2 days later, the next day, I can't remember. But what I do know is that I spent quite a bunch of time talking to him. I've got to see him on a couple different occasions, and he's living his life. He's living his passion, and I love it. So I just talked for about 5 minutes, and I don't want to take any more of his time away from him. So I'm going to bring him on. Hey, so here we go. Mr. Adam T. Cummings. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for that intro. I was cheesing like a cornball over here the whole time. So thank you.
That's exciting, man. If I can't get anywhere else in life, I want to start doing intros, bro, because I'm trying to get
good at it. Much better. Yeah, you just want to like do my intro on my show because I jack it up every single week.
Great, man. You know, it's interesting when you're standing on the other side. I like when you get to watch someone do things. It's interesting as people get trained to do this stuff, and when we just kind of walk out into the journalistic perspective, it's not always the easiest.
Like, let's try this. It worked all right. We'll figure it out.
When you're not live, you can do it over and over again because you can be like, hey, let's just start it over. When you're live, you're like, listen, it's gonna be rough, man. But anyway, That's what it is, right?
I like the authenticity, though, the factor. A lot of people take to that too. They resonate with it. So, you know, sometimes there's times where things should be raw, and the conversations we have, I believe, need to be authentic and raw because the topics we speak of are important.
No doubt. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, it sounds good in practice as you just say nice things and you're very open and you just talk regularly. It sounds good, but when you're talking amongst each other, right? We kind of have a different relationship, and it's kind of an understood a thing. So we can say different words and different things. We can cuss and we can do a bunch of stuff that's not so much acceptable, but we understand what the other one's talking about. So you kind of, again, it goes back into your common statements about brotherhood and sisterhood, and you know, it's just different, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I just feel that context is key and perspective is everything. So it's really hard when you have a third party viewing a conversation between two people, especially because we already have rapport. So we already understand each other. We know how you roll. So having a third party observe a conversation, it's easy to take things and misconstrue them or take them out of context because they don't have that energy between the two parties and they can't engage with that. So I just hope that I don't say too many stupid things, but I tend to think before I speak nowadays more than I have in the past. So I'm glad I'm working on that.
Well, we're growing, right? We're all every day. And you know, I think one of the good things that I've noticed about you as I've been in a couple different events with you, I've seen you interact with certain people with some veteran folks and with some non-ever serving folks. And I got to say it's refreshing. It's impressive to see how you kind of navigate your obstacles. You pick your words properly. You represent yourself very well, and you make sure that you're not offensive. But more importantly, are you reaching the people you're talking to? And I think it's a significant attribute because it's not something that we can do. It's not a shut on, shut off. It's just know your audience, right? And I think that's something that we don't always take in consideration because some of us like to say our audience, if they don't like what we say, they don't have to listen. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, depending on who you are. It's not about staying true to yourself. Do you want to touch the masses or do you want to touch a small amount? And not small being relative to whatever size, but you know what I'm saying?
So, absolutely.
Well, listen, let's jump in real quick. We just talked about who you were a little bit, but just about the what I read. I'd like to talk a little bit about who you are. Who is Adam? Well, just so you all know real quick, and I forgot to do this. Hey, Adam, I know where you're coming from. Where are you coming from today?
Tampa, Florida.
Outstanding. So I typically do that in the beginning because normally I'm talking to someone from Ohio or San Diego or San Antonio, Oregon. But today we're coming live from down the street. I could actually probably take my microphone, walk over to his house, and we could do this face to face. It's just easier.
Absolutely.
So we're both in Tampa. That's good stuff. Now I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell the audience, kind of give me a scenario where you came from, where you entered the military at, and why you did, and then give me a little just short synopsis of your career a little bit.
Okay, so I grew up in my first 10 years of my life was in New Jersey, so that's where the accent comes from and a little bit of an attitude. And then from 10 to 20, I moved to Pennsylvania. I lived in Bethlehem Township for those 10 years. It was a great middle class neighborhood. I had a great childhood before technology really took over, so I was still able to have that kind of sincere and simple childhood, and then while also getting the front end of the technological boom. So it was good. Everything kind of changed though in 2007, 2008. I had just graduated high school, and then the financial disaster happened. I had this plan that I was going to go to college and I was going to do my 4-year degree and I was going to get that job and the house and the white picket fence and everything like that. And I was so excited and quickly that dream dissipated as the economy dissipated, but also my realization that life wasn't for me. I started to flounder. I started drinking a lot, I started smoking a lot, and eventually I started having suicidal thoughts even before I joined the military. I just was lost, and I've always had this. I was a big dreamer, and I was always a big envisioner, and to feel stuck in like I'm living a life that's not mine. I had no clue. I was so young. I had no experience at anything. I had no clue what to do. One night, after my parents lost both their jobs and went bankrupt, we ended up having to get this apartment at the other side of town. I call it it was pretty much an opium den. There was no windows, and the windows that were covered by big pine trees. It was just from, my favorite childhood home, my home, my dream home, to this at such a young age. And I don't know what's going on or anything. I'm working at Walgreens, 10 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to school, like I'm doing the grind, but I'm also drinking a lot. I'm smoking a lot of weed. I'm doing a lot of the things that, I never did as a kid. I was a really good kid, got good grades, didn't get in trouble. And all of a sudden I turned 18 and I'm like, oh, let's make bad decisions, that can actually affect my life. And they started to. Got in trouble with the law a couple times. And then one night I was in the apartment before my parents moved in. And for whatever reason, it was just a crazy night. I drank an entire bottle of vodka to my face, breached the door or braced the door with a chair, and then took a steak knife to my wrist. But being that I hate pain, I didn't even draw blood. But the fact is that I got to that point, I got to the point of actually hurting myself or trying to. And I like sobered up immediately. And then the next day I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, this is what I just did. And I don't know what's going on, but I'm scared. And she's like, Adam, I don't know who you are anymore. I don't like the person you're becoming. You're angry all the time. You're bitter. I can't talk to you. I think it's time you join the Marine Corps. What? Backstory. My dad was a Marine. I grew up with the stories my whole life. I mean, he is a Marine to this day. And he raised me to be a Marine basically. And for me, my parents were like, no, you're not going into service after high school. Like right when I graduated, they're like, no, because it was 2007. The fighting was still pretty intense. They just didn't feel good about it. But then when Obama came into office, they saw his plans for Afghanistan and Iraq to try to start pulling troops out and things like that. And so they felt like, well, he's either going to end up dead or in jail. So I think it's time that he goes after what he was supposed to. But the funny thing about that story, so my mom used to tell me all the time when she first held me in her arms, she told me that she saw me in a pinstripe suit, which was, makes sense. But what she never told me, because she was hoping it wasn't true, was that she had first seen me in Marine Corps Blues. And at that moment, she told me that story 18 years later or 20 years later. And what was ironic was it was the end of the fall. I was floundering. I knew I didn't want to go back to school another semester, and it started spring. And it was probably November-ish, maybe December-ish, because it was super cold, but it hadn't snowed yet. And when the wind comes in the Northeast and it just takes part of your soul. Yeah, it was like one of those. Like, it was the coldest winter I've ever experienced. But I drive to the parking lot of my campus, and all of a sudden I see a Marine get out of his car in his dress blues, and I'm like, beeline to it. I was like, hey man, can I talk to you about the Marine Corps? He's like, absolutely, that's why I'm here. So to me, I think he's this badass Marine, this and that. This dude was like a PFC because he had college credits and he had one little national defense ribbon. He's like literally just out of boot camp. But to me, he was just the symbol of like awesomeness. Yeah. I had sat down with him. He talked to me real. He told me all about boot camp and everything like that, and how much he loved it, how hard it was, this and that. And then the next day, I went to the recruiters in Washington, New Jersey, because I heard that a recruiter in my hometown wasn't that great, and he kind of manipulated people. So I would drive an hour 3 or 4 times a week to Washington, New Jersey to train with my staff sergeant for the 3-month elite program. And then by my birthday, I was on the Yellow Footprints in Paris Island, and that was the real start of my life. I spent 5 glorious years at 3rd MAW in San Diego, California, MALS 11. I was an airframer, so I worked on fighter jets. In Afghanistan, I worked on V-22s. I worked on H-53s. I worked on Cobras. So I got to work on helicopters more so in Afghanistan. And over my career, I just was so driven, because I remember standing on those Yellow Footprints freaking out, going, what the hell did I just do? What did I do? I'm standing there at attention. I can smell the dude's sweat in front of me. And I'm just like, I don't know. And I said, Adam, it's like, you made this choice. You're going to hit the ground running, and you're never going to look back. And I made that promise to myself then, and I haven't broke it to this day. But I'm not saying it was easy, 5 years grinding in the Marine Corps. I was very sensitive and very emotional in the beginning. So they ate me alive, making fun of my last name, just picking on me. But because I was so defensive, because, fear, new situation, I was around a bunch of tough people. So I had to act tougher, blow myself up. And eventually I earned the trust and respect of all the Marines in my shop. They started giving me more responsibilities. I ended up taking leadership roles. By the time my career was over, I was in charge of 3 squadron programs of naval aviation. I had 30 Marines directly under my charge as a sergeant. I was in charge of hundreds of Marines with these programs. And the best part of my Marine Corps career was leading those young Marines and helping them become the men that looked up to my mentors when I was coming through. So all I ever tried to aspire to be was the best example for them. And not only that, but to also have their back no matter what, because I know what it's like to not have leaders that didn't have your back. To have leaders that were supposed to be there for you, but they chose somebody else that was like even outside your shop or outside your whatever, And I understand the game and I understand the Marine Corps bureaucracy and all that. But to me, it was as if you're innocent until proven guilty if you're my Marine. You're never going to be, I'm never going to take someone else's word from it, not even if it's an officer, until I hear his story, I hear your story, and then I get a full picture. So I learned a lot of leadership principles through that. I had a great time. Every other day I wanted to get out. A bunch of times I wanted to stay in, but eventually I realized that my passion lied outside. It was, I felt like I went into the Marine Corps kind of knowing that it was a stepping stone. I knew what it did for my dad. I knew what potential I had in my life, but I just didn't have the skill set or the confidence yet to attain it. And so I always knew the Marine Corps was kind of the structure and the emotional overhaul, the mindset overhaul I needed to go where it is I was trying to go. Because again, the, white picket fence with the golden retriever and the 2 kids and the, 3-story house, it's just not my dream, and I thought it was. But again, the longer I dived into me, the more I realized that my idea of my life is just so different from everybody's, and it always has been. Yeah. And until I started embracing that aspect of myself, I was kind of just following. And the Marine Corps helped me kind of step out of the shadow of not only myself, but other people, and come into a leadership role in other people's lives, but in my own life as well. So it's been a journey, man. And I've almost been out as long as I was in. So going out 5 years. And I must say, my mom, when I got out, I was pretty intense. I was pretty crazy a little bit. And my mom told me, she's like, Adam, you were in for 5 years. It's going to take 5 years for you to figure it all back out. So I'm feeling like I'm coming into my own finally. And so, it's been a time, man.
Let's ask this question. So as you decide 5 years is coming up, it's the end of that's your first enlistment. You did a 5-year enlistment. So the first enlistment is getting ready to come out, and you decide, all right, some days are great, some days are bad, some days I could deal without this, and there's no more for me. What is it that you did, or what is it that when did you realize that you were going to separate? You weren't going to re-enlist. That wasn't going to be another 5 years. It was going to be right now. How far ahead of your what do y'all call it? EAS? I can't remember what the Marines call it, but your separation date.
I knew I was getting out in June of 2012.
Okay.
And I had till May of 2014.
Okay.
And the reason I knew is because I'd gotten back out of Afghanistan, and I finally earned my school slot for non-destructive inspection, which is a 3-month school in Pensacola, Florida, where the job is like, it's only for the best of the best. Like only the best Marines that are the most exemplary Marines, the ones that show, not only the most proficiency, but the best conduct, can go to this school, because it sets you up. It's my gunny is an NDI tech. We call them NDI techs. They're called non-destructive technicians out here, NDT. Basically what it is just learning how to inspect pieces of gear and metal for integrity defaults without actually cutting it up. You have to do a bunch of different scientific kind of tests. So you have eddy current tests, you have sonograms, you have x-rays. It's like really high tech. And for me, it was just, that's what I wanted to do. I heard about it in A school when I was 3 months in, and I said, that's what I'm going to get. That is my goal. That is what I'm going for. And that's what I went for. And so I was on leave, because I was supposed to go to school in August. So I was on leave in June. I'm at my buddy Nate's house. I had spent 20 days up in Pennsylvania with my best friends and hung out at his mom's house while he was at work. And I get a call, and it's a sergeant from my unit. And he goes, Cummings. I'm like, yes, Sergeant Makarenko. He goes, you're not going to NDI school anymore. You're going to Bahrain. We may have to cut your leave short. And we don't know when we're leaving, but that's what's going on. And at that moment, my heart broke. And I said, aye, Sergeant. Hung up the phone, and I said, I'm getting out of the Marine Corps. Yeah. And they put me on that deployment, which then was one of the hardest aspects of my entire Marine Corps career was that deployment, because we went and sat in the desert for 6 months and didn't do anything. Yeah. There was no work. Yeah. It was we were basically like a support squadron, and we only had one squadron in there, Yeah. And so there was nothing to work on. There was really nothing to do. We were trying to, we were putting together tents. We were taking tents away. Kuwait was great because we still had the camaraderie because we were all in the same barracks, and nobody really had cell phones. But then we got to Bahrain. It's a warm base. They have Wi-Fi and they have cans. So you have two. So after like all that camaraderie went away and everyone just kind of stopped really hanging out. And it was just, I was like kind of alone for 3 months while being around a bunch of people, stewing in that Marine Corps hate and discontent. Yeah. And so that whole time I was there, though, on that deployment, not only did I become a better leader with the guys that were around me, but what I realized is my passion for fitness. That's where I really started doubling down on my fitness, my nutrition, the studying, the research. And what I wanted to do was get out to open up my own gym. Okay. And so my whole intention that next year and a half was preparing myself for college, getting myself ready for transition, doing what I had to do, because I knew when I got out that I wanted to start a gym. Okay. It didn't take long in business school to realize how bad of an idea starting a gym for your first venture is. So I put that one on the back burner and I started studying business. And that's when I kind of really fell in love with the choice I made to get out, because to me, business is so much like the Marine Corps, except you have to be so much more in control of yourself than you are in the military. So it's like a nice transition. Yeah. So now I'm interested, just before we actually, I'm going to ask you for some advice for somebody, or for the guys that are transitioning, but you were in Bahrain and when you decided this stuff, how did the University of Tampa play into your separation? So, I like the fact that you were able to say, I want to open a gym. I need to go to college to get myself straight. And you started working those plans, which is good because not everybody does that. Not everybody takes that time or they can even identify it that soon to realize that there's some steps to take. And you obviously took the right steps, at least in the transition phase, to say, okay, I'm going to go to college. Now, how did the University of Tampa align with your plans? How did that work out? Okay, so in the Marine Corps, they have this program, which I want every Marine to know about. It's called the Leadership Scholar Program. And I learned that through TAPS, or the transition. We call it TRS, Transition Readiness Seminar, which is a week-long PowerPoint. It's pretty terrible, but I will tell you this: the presentation that they gave on the Leadership Scholar Program was incredible. So me and my buddy Byron did it, and what it is it's a 3-month vetting process. Like, you have to be a sergeant. You can't have anything bad on your record. You have to have good pros and proficiency marks, good conduct marks, good fit reps, good cutting scores. You have to get a letter of recommendation from a higher up. Like, it's a whole process. Yeah. And after 3 months, they accepted me, and pretty much that's like a ticket into any school that they're a part of. And there's over 200 schools back then. I don't know where it's at now. I'm sure it's more, but there's over 200 schools that were on the list that would basically, being like, if you were in a Leadership Scholar Program, they hand walk your application to the dean of admissions. And so I knew I was moving to Tampa because my family was there and my best friend Nate was there, and I wanted to be near someone that I knew for a long time and that could help me transition back into being, I would say, a normal person again, which it wasn't successful, but it definitely helped. And on top of that, I needed to really figure out what school I wanted to go to. And I looked at the schools around here. There was, and I saw USF and I saw UT. I don't like big schools. I don't want big classes. My buddy went to Ohio State and he told me that the first class he sat in was 430 people in an auditorium. And I said, absolutely not. And for me, all I had. So my buddy Nate was going to University of Tampa for his master's, his MBA in marketing and / marketing. And I asked him, I was like, how's the school, man? He's like, the classes are small. They're about 20 people each. The campus is beautiful. And I couldn't have asked for anything more. And I said, sounds good to me. And I applied. And that's the only school I applied to. The only school I applied to. I also looked at it like this. What's the most expensive school? What's the most expensive school I can pick? Okay, I'm going to go to this one because I had the yellow ribbon program. UT does the yellow ribbon program. So anything the GI Bill doesn't cover, they cover the rest. And I couldn't have asked for a better choice. I mean, the University of Tampa, to me, I tell everyone, if you love business and if you want access to like high, people with small, intimate classes, these professors all have PhDs. They all have 15, 20 years experience in their industry. I couldn't have asked for anything more for help in my transition and going to the University of Tampa. Because, I went into the Marine Corps at 20 years old. I came out as a 25-year-old, but emotionally I repressed everything. I didn't grow emotionally at all in the Marine Corps. And that was a big issue I had to deal with coming out. So though I was 25 going to school, it was almost as if the first year I went, I was actually 20. And that was able to help me kind of grow with people who are younger, emotionally minded than me. And help me kind of grow and relate to them. And then as I started surrounding myself with different people, I was able to keep going. And then finally, I would say this year, I feel finally like I have the emotional development of, my age, like a 30-year-old now. So I think that's a big issue with the transition and with military service in general, is that we're usually kept angry and we're usually kept kind of uncomfortable because you have to be ready for war. It's just what it is. It's a mindset that needs to be adopted, and instant obedience to all and willingness to all orders is a real thing. Lives are lost on a battlefield if you ask why. So I understand all of that, but their inability to help us emotionally grow while we're transitioning is where we're failing. And that is a big aspect that I'm trying to harp on, is the mental health. Is honestly, it's the emotional growth that we lack. Yeah. So, but for me, man, the University of Tampa I rave about it to everyone I possibly can.
That's awesome. So if you had an opportunity to give some advice to someone, which you do right now, giving someone getting ready to transition, it's really difficult. So don't get me wrong. This is not easy to put you on the spot and say, if you had one piece of advice to give someone transitioning, because there's a myriad of different things to talk about, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on. But just for time's sake, for one piece, something that you find to be very important, what would that be?
I would say the easiest one that you can do, the easiest one that should be implemented, is don't isolate. And I say that while I constantly still isolate, and it's hard. Yeah. When you experience life with people that isn't glorious, that isn't all that you see on the TV commercials and the Marine commercials, the few, the proud, the Marines. You're like, yeah, I want to be a Marine. And then you're in there, you're like, this sucks, But when you go through that with people, the bonds you create are unlike anything you'll ever experience. And when you get out and you don't have that anymore, it's almost like, what's the point? And after that, you start to kind of just retreat. You feel like nobody understands you. You feel like you're the only one with these thoughts. You feel like you're the only one with these issues. But because of the military stigma and the mindset, you don't want to be a burden on somebody. You don't want to be a wuss. You don't want to be a complainer. We have all these labels we label our issues with, and we downplay our feelings. But when we're isolated and we don't have support, all we have is our thoughts, and that negative feedback loop just creates mania, pure mania.
It's fact, right? All those thoughts become fact. That's what it's real, right? Because you came up with it. You insert gaps with your own thoughts. Those own thoughts, true or not true, become facts, and now you're stuck, right? Because you got
exactly. And so a big reason I started Vetting America, I'm not going into that yet, just kind of giving some reference, is I realized that not only in my bio was that true, but I'm not a combat Marine. And I got out of the Marine Corps, and a lot of Marines I know have, I wouldn't call it survivor's remorse, but it's almost like warrior remorse. You know, we all wanted to go into the fight. We all wanted to put rounds down range. We all wanted to serve our country. And a lot of us feel like we didn't, even if we were in Afghanistan, even if we were keeping birds in the sky, even if we were making sure that the other the other Marines were fed. If, people that weren't actually past the wire, which is most people, feel as though they aren't combat veterans, that they don't deserve, they don't rate the benefits that the VA gives. They don't rate to talk about their issues. They don't rate to have depression and anxiety and PTS and all this other stuff. And that's what I went through. And I never talked about it because I was like, man, it ain't that bad. I got my legs. I was stationed in Miramar. I used to go to Balboa for certain medical appointments. Man, walking around Balboa and watching people quadriplegics who were blown up in Iraq, a guy missing 2 legs who was blown up in Afghanistan, and you're going there because you have a cough or something, and you're just like, man, am I such a wuss, And you start to, and again, it's like now you're isolated, and now you're not even feeling your feelings, and you're downplaying everything you're going through, and then those negative feedback loops because you should be stronger, you should be this, and you should be there, and you should be doing that, and you should be motivated, you should be this, and it just creates just pure, unadulterated misery. And nothing is darker and nothing is scarier than when you're in a hole that you can't get out of, and there's no one around to jump into that foxhole with you. So when you isolate, you push out everything that could possibly help you get out of that hole. And what I hate to see is all these veterans, choosing a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and that's suicide. And my buddy, one of my first Marine I ever had under my charge, he used to call me Grandpappy all the time. He's from North Carolina. Biggest soul, biggest heart, loudest, just the biggest personality I've ever seen on a person in my life, and just the biggest heart, and an amazing integrity-filled person. And he took his life, 2 months ago. It was the first Marine that I served with that killed himself, and didn't even know, didn't tell anybody, didn't say anything, and it crushed us. Yeah. But it also awakened us. 17 of the Marines I served with, 17 of the Marines I had underneath my charge, we were all there at his funeral. And we were all talking about how we all feel alone. We all feel depressed and anxious, and we've had thoughts of suicide, and we're drinking, and we're this, and we're that. 17 people living in 17 different places in the country who all serve together at the same time are all going through the same exact issues as every single one of us, and we don't reach out to each other because we don't want to burden each other with our problems. And it just blew my mind. Yeah. And that's when I realized, because even towards the end of this year, I fell off again. We were talking about that before I went to another rabbit hole, I call it, is when I just go into this isolation and I get super depressed. Yeah. And I was even thinking about stopping Vetting America because I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like this and that. And then he did that, and he brought all of us together. And I like to think the one shining light out of his suicide is it's almost like he took his life to save 17 of ours. Yeah. And he reinvigorated my pursuit. Like, if there was ever a reason for me to continue doing what it is I'm doing, it's one of my best friends, one of the Marines closest to me, taking his own life to make it, to show me, the universe to show me that this is what I need to do, and this is why I need to do it. And so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at today.
Well, it's interesting to me. I've listened to every episode that you've had on Vetting America. I know I've given you, I think, a guest or two to listen to, because I think what it is that you're doing is pretty good. You bring a spotlight on folks, and I watch you in the conversations, and I think that some of those things are very therapeutic. And I got to tell you, it dawned on me like during you talking, as I can see myself, that you were talking about something very serious, and I was laughing. And I know that people that don't know me would probably think I was trying to make a mockery of what you were saying. But you were talking.
I catch myself doing that too.
But it's interesting because you were talking specifically about non-combat Marines having non-combat remorse or whatever the case may be, and there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that play out that we're very difficult on each other. It's interesting to me that we play a lot of different games in the military and out of the military, and I dislike them, but it's an accepted thing. I was in this organization, so we were badasses. You were in that organization, so you were a pogue or whatever crazy names they. Yeah. It happens. And, you know, to me, it's the value is in what you allow it. And I think that that's something that as I watch you, as you're doing your show and I see you talking, I think it's therapeutic for you. But not only that, it's where you're raising up people. And a lot of folks that feel that isolation and that loneliness, they're very good at doing that. You know, I mean, I look at people that have highlighted people's lives for days. I mean, making people laugh and doing stuff. And they're some of the most sad people in the world, but they're bringing other people up. And it's almost like that's feeding their fire. And so Vetting America is important to you, and as it should be, because you do a very good job and you showcase some of the best people around this area. I mean, for those that don't know, Adam is specifically targeting the Tampa landscape from an entrepreneurial perspective. I mean, and it's great what he does for our community down here. It really is. So obviously, what I'm going to do real quick, because I typically wait till the end. You know, I'm going to change stuff up. I'm growing. I've actually put you solo a couple times. I normally don't really mess around too much with these buttons because I don't want to mess something up. What I'm going to do real quick, Adam, while we got folks early in case they tail out later, I'm going to put some of your links up, right? So I asked you, or you had sent me some links earlier today, and I want to share those with you. So I'm going to put them up. If you could talk about them, I'm going to put them up, and then we'll talk about them. But so the first one I'm going to show. Look, it even like it's scrolling, bro.
That's so cool, man. I'm gonna use this.
Yeah, look at use this. Yeah. So this is your YouTube channel, right? So this is where people can go and find your previous season of Vetting America, each individual show, to include mine. I think it's episode 17. Not really. I don't know what episode it is. It doesn't matter.
I think you're 4.
4. I'm number 4. Go check it out. Hey, Bob. Bob is here. Nice to see you. Looking sharp, Adam. He said. And said hello. But anyway, so check out, that's the YouTube channel. We're going to move in and go into the next, your company LinkedIn, your Vetting America company LinkedIn, right?
Yes. So I just put that up today. I'm really proud of it.
I'm proud of it for you. Listen, it's a big deal, a LinkedIn page, not just a LinkedIn individual page, which will show up in a moment, but a company page because, well, that's how you got to grow, man. And it's nice to see it. So there's LinkedIn. All these links, by the way, will be on this page on the other side, Leadership After Transition page. After we're done with this interview, I'll post them up. So if you need to reach out to Adam, please do. I'm going to hide this one, and now I'm going to go into the personal LinkedIn page, right? So listen, bottom line is you can go and there's the link, but it's Adam T Cummings, right? You're going to find it on LinkedIn the same way. Is that or is it going to be Adam Travis? Is it a full name?
It's probably my full name on that one.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But look for Adam T and he'll come up anyway. I promise. It works that way. So there's his LinkedIn profile. Then we're going to send you one more or a couple more, 2 more. We're going to send you to Facebook. All the same. Man, it's pretty cool. It wraps around, bro. It's pretty impressive. I'm proud of this, man. Hey, look, for all y'all that are watching, know that I'm not technologically savvy, so anything I do with additional, it's a bonus for everybody, to include myself. I'm actually feeling kind of proud right now.
Right.
There we go. And then from here, after going to Facebook, we're going to look at your website. So you got the TampaPost.com, right?
Yep.
Category / podcast / Vetting America. So Vetting America, check it out. Hey, show's awesome. Check it out. And now, because we've talked about this show and we've talked about Vetting America, and I talked about me being episode 4, by the way, episode 4, I was wearing a red shirt. I remember that. And that was a year ago. I wore it just for the memory. And I don't think my beard was as long at that time. But anyhow.
No, it wasn't.
We're all growing. Hey, yeah. I think I would have changed it. But the fact is, it's like I met some folks the other night and said, hey, I've seen you all over the place. And I'm like, I guess I got to keep it. Not to mention my 5-month-old daughter, she falls asleep holding it in her hand, so I'm kind of stuck, man. Right? Anyhow, let's talk now about Vetting America. So the idea is, what do you currently do now? What is it that you're doing? And you know, going to school, you got your degree. Was it in business? Is that what your bachelor's?
Accounting.
Accounting. I read it earlier and I jacked that up like a champ, but we'll just pretend that I didn't. I'm gonna edit that out. No, I'm kidding. Anyhow, so you get your degree and all of a sudden you say, you know what, I can't wait to be an accountant. So as that happened, there was a realization somewhere, right? There was a realization that maybe this isn't exactly what I want to do. And tell me kind of how Vetting America began. I mean, you go from the graduation to deciding accounting.
Yeah.
and get to Vetting America because I'd like to see how that all transpired.
All right. So my last semester, which was in the spring of 2017, started in January. I did my first internship, and I did it with a Big Four, a CPA firm here in Tampa. And I went and I was in their tax office, and I did tax accounting during the busy season. It was an experience, to say the least. I am very outspoken and confident in this and that, and arrogant at times and entitled at times. So I like to think that I try to go into a corporation with 155,000 employees and make a splash. Yeah, it didn't happen. So I thought it was just like the culture. I just wasn't a culture fit. And so after I graduated in 2017, in the beginning of summer, I started another internship with another company in downtown Tampa. Man, I was so excited for this. It was on the 25th floor of the PNC building downtown. I mean, the view of the bay and just of everything around. I mean, I felt like I had made it, like this is why I got out of the Marine Corps. This is why I did a 4-year degree in 2.5 years. I just grinded through it. It was for this. I'm there. I made it. And within 2 weeks, I woke up with the biggest pit in my stomach. And I was like, I don't want to go to work because it's not that I didn't like the busy work. It was the fact that I didn't get to talk to anybody. If you haven't noticed, I'm a talker. So that's why I have a talk show now. And I didn't get to talk to anybody all day, and it got lonely. It really got lonely. And they told me they were a family, and they were this, and they were that. And probably because I had high expectations, and I was an intern, they just really I was just like to help, and that's how I was treated. And I was telling you this, how people treat me really affects me because I've been mistreated, and I allowed it for so long in the earlier years of my life that now it's like, no, you'll never treat me anyway. I'm a crusader. I'm a crusader for myself. I'm a crusader for other people. And so, again, my little bit of entitlement, a little bit of arrogance kind of broke my heart a little bit. But I just knew that accounting really wasn't it. I knew that I wasn't going down the right path. And I ended up feeling like I felt when I was 19 in that fateful night. I woke up one day in the summer in August. I'd been applying to accounting jobs. I've been reading accounting descriptions and just like, none of this seems interesting. This is nothing I want to do. I was going to interviews, and I was crushing interviews, but I wasn't getting callbacks. I guess I had too much energy, and I had a hard time not telling everybody what I wanted to do with my life and what I had plans. I thought that having aspirations would help me get a job because here's a go-getter. This guy's driven, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think they wanted that. I think they wanted a team player that does his job, doesn't complain, and goes home every day and comes back to work the next morning. So overall, I just wasn't a fit in accounting. I honestly took accounting in school because I knew where I was going in my future. I knew business was going to be a big part of it. I knew that I wanted to invest. I knew I wanted to own businesses and all this. And I just knew at one point that if I was going to build an empire, I need to be able to understand my numbers. I need to be able to understand my financial statements. I got to be able to speak accountant to hold my accountants, accountable. Three accountants in the same. So that was a lot. That was a lot. So yeah. Yeah. And so so I woke up in August one day, literally not wanting to live anymore. And I said to myself, whoa, you just worked 8 years to get here and you're right back where you started? And I was having a conversation with myself. So my ego was crying. And then my true self was like, okay, this is not how we're doing this. And I asked myself in the most basic way, Adam, what is it that you want to do? And I said, every time I travel the country, every time I go on vacation, I just meet these amazing people that I have spiritual and emotional connections with. And from there, I share my wisdom and I gain their wisdom. And I've been told many times I've changed people's perspectives. I've changed their lives. I've helped them get out of a way. Everything that has happened when I'm there, because I'm just vibrating so high. I'm so happy and I'm present. And all I really want to do is I love meeting people. I love talking with people. I love gaining their mindsets, their perspective, hearing their stories. And I said, I want to travel the country talking to people, and I want to get paid to do it. I don't know how, but that's what I'm going to do. And so the next couple weeks, I'm just, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't have a job, this and that. And then Irma hits, and it changed everything. I mean, I've never been in a hurricane. You know, I'm from the Northeast, and there has been a hurricane that had made landfall since in 10 years in Florida. So, you know, Irma comes, and I'm freaking out when the size of Texas is a storm coming right for Tampa, you know? So we're freaking out. We don't me and my family are in a tough financial bind at this point. My dad's hurt. He can't really walk, you know, so we couldn't even leave, you know, and we never been in a hurricane. So we don't have any money, and we don't even know what we're doing. So we just were like, let's just ride it out. Let's go for it. Didn't have a generator. We didn't get ice. We didn't have nothing, you know. Luckily, it did miss Tampa for the most part, but we didn't have power for 4 days. And in those 4 days, it just shows you how much we take for granted in this country and how wonderful our lives are. Because 4 days without air conditioning in Florida in August and 95-degree heat will drive you mad. I promise you that. And so my mom works for the local. Yeah, exactly. So my mom works for the local community. It's called the University Area Community Development Center. It's by USF, and it's there to help low-income people with resources, access to computers, access to gardens, you know, things that will help the community grow and thrive, because that area is called Suitcase City, and that's where people come to kind of collect a check and then leave. So there's not a lot of people that stick around, and that's what they're trying to do with that area. Yeah. So they're serving the community, you know, they're cooking hot dogs and hamburgers, handing out water, supplies, this and that. My mom goes, hey, they're doing this today. Do you want to go? And I said, well, I don't want to stay in this house anymore, so I'll go with you. So we end up going. Remember, it's an overcast day, and I just cooked hamburgers and hot dogs for like 4 hours. And in that amount of time, in those 4 hours, I felt more camaraderie, I felt more purpose, and I felt more fulfillment than I have felt in the last 3.5 years since I've been out of the Marine Corps. Yeah. And I said, okay, there's something to this. So I love talking to people, and I want to travel, but I have no money. So that means I need to start here. But I also like service. So what am I going to do? All right, so the pieces are starting to come together. The puzzle pieces starting to come together. And then as I'm going to, so I had met this woman on a plane back in May, and we hit it off, and we started a long distance kind of relationship thing. And we were friends. We were friends first. She actually had a house in Sarasota, and her birthday's in September. So for her birthday, we had been talking for about 5 months. For her birthday, she flew down to Sarasota, and I went to meet her. You know, I hadn't seen her. I only saw her for 2 hours on a plane. You know, so it's been 5 months. And so as I'm driving down there, I'm talking to my buddy Brett. And my buddy Brett, I met him at the Tampa Bay Startup Weekend in 2015, and was one of the greatest weekends of my life. That's when I fell in love with entrepreneurship, and that's what I knew I wanted to do. And meeting Brett, I've met a soul brother. I met somebody who's on the same spiritual journey as me, who's on the same career journey as me, and he's just always pursuing his best self. Yeah. And so Brett was going, when Brett's down, I'm usually going down too, because we kind of are flowing in the same plane. And he had just found his purpose in hip hop. He started a hip hop career in July of 2017. So now, like, the dude who's in the trenches with me is out of his rabbit hole, and I'm alone, and I'm like, dude, what do I do? He's a man of faith. I pushed God in my life when I was 20 years old because I had a woman break my heart. I broke my heart too. I'm not blaming her, whatever. But I had a young love, broke my heart, and I'm a Marine now, and I was like, I'm a tough Marine. I don't need God. I can do this my own. Loneliest 8 years of my life. I don't suggest that. It's a really bad decision. So he goes, pray, man. I'm like, pray? I'm driving 75 miles down the highway, talking on speakerphone with my buddy, like crying. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm freaking out. This is it. And he's like, bro, pray. I was like, dude, I haven't prayed in almost a decade. I have no idea how to do that. He goes, just do whatever, man. Just do it. And I was like, all right, hang up the phone. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, Our Father who art in heaven. Like I was baptized Roman Catholic, so I know 2 prayers, and it's Our Father and Hail Mary. So I just did that, and I did the Hail Mary, and then I said, God, you know, this is awkward, but I'm sorry I haven't talked to you in a long time. I don't even know how to really do this anymore, but I need your help. I'm I'm on a path that's not sustainable. I'm really unhappy and I'm scared that something bad's going to happen or I'm going to choose something bad. Can you please help me because I don't know what else to do. So then I don't think about it. I go meet this woman and she was incredible. We had a great weekend together. Spent 4 days, and then we're at Armand Circle in Sarasota near Siesta Key, and they have Tommy Bahama's restaurant there, and there's a patio, and so we're sitting there drinking some Moscow Mules. I remember to drink, and I had 3 days to not think about anything, just spend time with her, to reflect and reset, and I'm sitting there, and I get some tears in my eyes, and I look to her and I go, I want to bring awareness to what's going on in reality. And she looks at me and goes, do it. And at that moment, I started like crying a little bit. Because I think about it now and it makes me a little emotional. And from that moment on, I was like, I'm doing this. And God came to me with this vision. It took me 2 months to get the whole thing down. And it ends with, Vetting America is just a start. This is just an aspect to it. I tried to start a nonprofit, as you know, SIUVA, last year, but it didn't work out. Turns out that was actually my phase 2, and I tried to do that first because I didn't think I could do this.
Right.
I really didn't think I could do Vetting America the way it is now. This was the first phase. I didn't think I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the final phase of Vetting America is I want to shift the way we transition out of the military by offering transitional boot camps that provide vets not only with the resources they need to apply for jobs, to write resumes, to learn how to interview, to dress, to, mental health counselors, whatever they need, but also to be surrounded with other veterans that are just getting out of the military too, that you can build support systems with and grow with outside here, and then build the community. So my 15-year plan is to make that happen, where we're actually working with the government and working with the military and making it mandatory that people go through a transitional type of boot camp so that they can at least, if they're getting deprogrammed or reprogrammed going in, we need to be deprogrammed or reprogrammed going out. But that was the start of this journey. And even at that moment, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how I was going to do that. And then that next, I think 2 or 3 days later, I wrote a letter to Taya Kyle, who's Chris Kyle's wife, American Sniper for all those people who don't know who she is. And I just put it all out there. I said, this is my journey. This is what I've been going through. This is my battle with depression, anxiety, my suicidal thoughts, everything. Boom. And then I recorded it and sent it to that woman. And she said, you need to put this out on the internet. And I was like, I don't know about that. I mean, I never wanted to be center of attention. I never thought I was going to put videos out. I never thought I was going to make podcasts and public speak. And I never thought that was going to be me. And so this was like, my insecurities were so like, I was crying as it was buffering, as it was loading to upload. I was literally in tears, and then I hit publish. The next day I woke up, and then I sent it out to some people, and another Marine who was struggling with his transition, a combat Marine, reached out to me and was like, and I put it on Facebook. I was like, does anyone know how to video edit? And he reached out. And from there, man, he's like, he watched the video and he goes, I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of it. And he started pushing it on YouTube for me. I ended up having 12,000 views in like 2 weeks. And I had people who I never met before reaching out to me. And I always said, when I was sitting there with her and with other people, I said, if I can help one person, then this whole entire thing's a success. Within 2 weeks, a woman reached out to me from just that one video. She had reached out to me and she goes, thank you so much for that video. Thank you for your authenticity and being vulnerable. I'm a Navy veteran. I was raped on a float and stalked by my perpetrator for 6 months. And my PTS is so bad that, 15 years later, I still haven't gone to the VA to get help. And I deal with depression and anxiety and all of it all the time. Because of your video and because of the strength you showed, I made an appointment with the VA for the first time, and I'm going to get help. So thank you for that. And at that moment, I said, I already am successful with this. So whatever happens from here is the universe is doing, because I've already accomplished my goal. And that's what I love about Vetting America. And like you said, it's so therapeutic for me, because talking to people like you, they help not only guide me and give me the wisdom that I need, but also are there to listen and there to support and who understand my plight. But at the same time, I didn't go into this last rabbit hole until I wrapped up my first season of Vetting America. And that's when I started.
Well, see, the thing is, that just means that there should be no seasons. It's continual, man. Life is a continual. Like this isn't the Big Bang Theory or like some other random show. Just keep it going. Listen, there's been like 50 seasons on the other side, but it has nothing to do with time. It has me stopping because I get too involved with some other stuff and I just forget. But there'll be no more forgetting. We're setting this up on a path for success. But listen, I got to tell you something. So that story is interesting, right? But it's very motivational. I think we all have stories, that is, not nothing that you're going through it. And I'll tell you, when I sit there and listen to your story, it just takes me to think about how many people I've listened to that have similar stories, but the results are not all the same. Right? So the fact that you got up and you start to move forward and you do the thing, you just identify some of these things that are triggers to you and the goals and all that. That's not too healthy for you, because you can identify it. Now you can put it back.
Yes, 100%.
So what I want to do, I want to transition. Now there's a feedback. I don't know why.
Yeah, here's some feedback. I didn't want to call you out. I don't know, because you don't edit.
So, that's all right. Life goes on. We'll figure it out. Maybe not. Anyway, it is what it is. So I kind of want to ask you, with you in your career, right? You decided that you're going to go to school. You decided that but now that Vetting America came, you're gonna reach the transition program at some point. I mean, that's the effort, that's the goal, that's where we're going. What leadership skills do you think did you earn or learn, if you will? I don't mean to say earn, but learn through your military career that kind of made you a good fit for being the founder and the head guy at Vetting America? What do you think that what you didn't have at 18 years old that you got during your time in the Marine Corps, and now that you possess? What is that? What do you think that is that makes you a fit as the founder of Vetting America, and that's giving you this choice, right?
So I've always been this person. I've always been the spiritual being. I've always been very empathetic and compassionate. I've always been very wise. I have an old soul, rolled to the beat of my own drum my entire life, while also following because of fear and being scared and wanting to fit in. And what the Marine Corps was able to give me, I'd say, what makes me successful today in terms of, with Vetting America and where I'm going with this and why I wouldn't have been able to do it before the Marine Corps, was overall just the confidence. It was overall just it doesn't matter how many times you fail, get up and keep going. Work ethic. I've always had the work ethic, but the Marine Corps kind of gives you something special. It's a pride in your work ethic. It's a pride in trying to be the best version of yourself every day. What I like to explain about the Marine Corps, it was the first time in my life that it was the coolest. You were the coolest for being the smartest. You were the coolest for being the fastest, the strongest, the best spoken, the best groomed. If you just adopted everything the Marine Corps was, you'd be revered, you'd be looked up to, you'd be respected, as anyone who does their best should. And when I was going through school, it didn't make sense to me that people who didn't try were thought of and revered as cool, and those people you want the in crowd, and those people who get 4.0s and are part of 13 organizations and are the president of the school or president of the debate, like, they're not cool. How? They're the ones that are going to lead industry going forward. So to finally be in a situation where being my best self was not only accepted but expected, allowed me to break out of all those insecurities and all those things that held me back as a young man, and really blossom into someone that, there's nothing that's going to stop me. I'm my biggest roadblock every single day, as we've discussed. Nobody's going to stop me. Nothing's going to stop me. No circumstance, no situation, but myself, my own insecurity. Get out of your way,
man. Get out of your own way.
Out of my own way, exactly. And what's funny is, by putting myself in this uncomfortable situation every single day, because nothing is guaranteed as an entrepreneur, as you know, and especially as what we're doing, Nothing is guaranteed, nothing is absolutely guaranteed at all. So, putting myself in this situation is making me have to rely on myself, and I can't get in my own way because I have to rely on me to do what it is I'm trying to do. So if it wasn't for the Marine Corps, all the lessons they taught me, the leadership traits is just standing up for yourself, speaking up, asking for what you want, setting boundaries, setting expectations of others that so they don't affect your path. There's a lot of leadership traits we don't even realize we have from the military because they're so normal and embedded in all of us.
Right.
That, to not sound so generic, but that can-do attitude in a way, we don't even have a can-do attitude, but yet we will still do it. That is the biggest thing is Marines are notorious for bitching and moaning and complaining and just while doing their job to the best of their ability and getting it done in half the time that they're allotted. And so for me, it's almost like that path. So as I'm building this, I'm also having a chance to work on me and work on my mindset and perspective so that I actually enjoy the journey and not complain about it like I did in pretty much the first 28 years of my life.
Yeah, well, it's good, man. But that's it, man. It's embrace the journey, man. But hey, I'm going to ask you, there's one last question I'm going to ask, and so you can't make this stuff up question, which is my favorite part of the show. I like to hear all the guests' stuff. It's important to me. I enjoy it. It is interesting to me, but I love the stories. But before I do that, a couple things. One, Miss Rosie Lee, right? I love her to death. She said, never say never, Adam, because that was when you were talking about, I'm never going to be a podcaster. I was never going to be a this, and I was never going to do. So she was saying, never say never. Want to give a big shout out to Rosie and at Action Zone. And
Rosie is one of my favorite people in Tampa. If you're in Tampa and you're a veteran and you don't know Rosie Lee of Action Zone and Valerie Ellis of Action Zone, you need to, because these women are some of the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my entire life. So
you say Tampa, I gotta tell you, man, I'm gonna one up you, and I'm gonna say it's probably, Rosie at least is probably the best woman that I know. Valerie, man, at least within the Hillsborough County area. I'm just kidding. I love them both to death. That's why I give them a shout out at every opportunity, because they are great. And they're doing great things for the Tampa community, but just veterans in general, and you got to love them. Hey, but listen, I want to tell you something which was really interesting. I don't know if you ever heard of David Goggins. If you haven't, just look at my post over the last couple of weeks. I read his book. I listened to 31 Days with a SEAL by Jesse Itzler. He's a great guy, right? And It Can't Hurt Me. The book is awesome. But what was really interesting to me as you were talking about certain things, your insecurities and certain things that you were talking about, he said something really interesting in a book, which made me laugh, because he was a real insecure child. And he actually was insecure throughout much of his life until he realized something, right? That it wasn't as serious. He goes, but I always listened to people as they were saying stuff and the things that they were saying, and it hurt me. It would hurt him, but he'd have to put on that role that it didn't bother him because he was Billy Badass, but in real life it was killing him. Until he said, you can't allow people that aren't trying to do the things you're doing matter. People are always going to doubt you and hate you and say things. I mean, there's people that are going to exist in life, right? Which is it's a fact. But if they're not trying to do the same things you're doing, then their opinions are relevant. So when someone says, hey, you'll never do that, Adam. Okay, well, if you're trying to create Vetting America, and if you're trying to go and travel the world speaking, then maybe I could even listen to you, and maybe even your opinion about why I can't might even be beneficial. Like, tell me the technique I'm doing that's wrong. Maybe I'll have that conversation. But if you're sitting on your couch going to your job from day to day, whatever it may be, and you're not a business owner and you're not trying to start a business, you're not doing all these things, well, your opinion really can't matter that much because you're not trying to do what I'm trying to do. And it was, to be honest with you, I mean, that's a small message, but as you mentioned, it just brought it back to the forefront is, there are a lot of people that are going to say stuff. I mean, a lot of the closest people are going to say you're never going to do it, but that's because they're scared for you, right? They don't want you to get hurt, so they try to protect you. For you, Adam, I would say protection is not needed. You're all right. You're going to be fine because I watch you on Vetting America. You're a natural at it. I mean, you're going to learn some more. And in 5 years from now, you're going to look back and say, man, I remember my first episode. And well, it takes a little bit to build stuff, but you're doing amazing. I love watching the show, brother.
Thank you. And I'll take that one step further than what he said, because I still think that we're putting emphasis on other people, which I believe in stages. So he's putting emphasis on that other person as not really mattering. Their opinion doesn't matter in the context of that statement because they're in the same view as you. But if you take it a step further and remove the emotion out of it, what you can see is that how we treat other people is a complete mirror to how we treat ourselves. So if you have somebody who's telling you that you can't do something, it's because in reality, they're jealous that you even have an aspiration to, because they're so scared and they are so full of fear that they can never possibly ever think that they are capable of doing something that you're dreaming to do. So if you can look at it from a mirror's perspective, it even takes the emotion out of it. It's like, you don't even rate talking to me, or your opinion doesn't matter. You can even get it out of that. You can go, well, what's going on in your life? Why do you feel that way? Yeah. And all of a sudden, now it's on them, and they have no clue what's going on. And so that's where I'm trying to go in my life, is remove, because I'm so emotional, just like he was, insecure, emotional, sensitive, took things personally, still do. And what I realized was how we treat other people is literally how we feel and think about ourselves inside. And the way it is that I've had such a bad relationship with myself that I don't want anyone to ever feel as bad as I felt, either external or internal purposes. So I treat everybody with as much fairness, dignity, and respect as possible, because then I'm hoping the universe will return that back onto me.
Damn, Bill, look at how you are, man. I tell you, that's the one thing that I love about you. I mean, truly, that fire that builds, that passion that builds, but more importantly, the respect in which you treat everybody. That's what I really kind of noticed from the jump, because in that room in which we spoke, there was people of all walks of life, all races, all genders, all creeds, all sex. I mean, it was great. And in that, it didn't matter whether they were old, which we had some older folks, my age and up, and then we had some young folks, your age and down. Yeah. It was really interesting in how you treated them all, and you didn't know, but maybe a few of them. So it was really good, and I got to see that firsthand. And to be honest with you, that was one of the things that stuck, that wanted me to see you be successful on your journey, because I believe in what your passion is. I believe that you're passionate about what your passion is, which, I mean, that's kind of an important thing, right? So I'm here to support it. But
mental health issues don't discriminate, and that's my message. Is I want people to understand that depression doesn't care about what your religion is or what your gender is. Anxiety doesn't care about what your ethnicity is or how much money your mom made. Suicide affects everyone. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is we're so divided in this country right now, politically, racially, genderly, sexual orientation, everything. We're so divided. But at the end of the day, we are so biologically similar in thought, mind, and body, that if we were to just take a step back and truly listen to one another, we'd realize that our issues are those other people's issues. They may be different in a little bit on the surface, but underneath, the core value of each lesson that can be learned from one another, if we came together, we wouldn't have these problems. And so my brand is all about inclusion, because we're in such a discluded world right now.
Oh, no doubt. And I love listening to it. All right. So Nathan K came on and said, powerful message right there, Adam. Adam T. I'm telling you, man, when I see the T, brother, I gotta tell you, I'm going to say it like that from now on. As a matter of fact, I might even call you Cummings. I'm going to say Adam T.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I should just drop my last name and just go Adam T. And just have like a wolf howl or something.
That's awesome. All right, man. So we're gonna wrap up here in a second, but I gotta ask you to share me one of those stories. And say you can't make this stuff up.
I was gonna tell the story the first time that I pooped my pants in boot camp, but I don't think that's maybe next time you bring me on, we'll talk about that one. This one I'm going to talk about how the Marine Corps is. This is kind of a really great story that'll encompass Marines, our stupidity, our just ingenuity, and our overall just discarded for any type of normalcy. So we had to get into our hazmat locker. And so as an aviation Marine, especially airframes, we dealt a lot with hazardous materials, a lot of different sealants, a lot of different curants, things that needed to be kept away because they were flammable and they could, blow up. So we had to keep it in a different van. We had these maintenance vans. There were these giant metal things. I'm sure you've seen them in Afghanistan and Iraq. They're just the maintenance mobile facilities, we called them. And so we had this one that was we had to lock too, because you can't have anybody walking in there grabbing, hazardous materials, especially because we're in California. And once a quarter, the industrial hygienist came down and double checked everything. The state came down, checked everything. I must have been in fleet for maybe less than 3 months. So I was still that Marine that was was the runner. I'd get sergeant's lunch. I was basically just a slave. And everybody goes through it the first couple months. It just happened to last almost 6 months for me, because for whatever reason, I got in I got the fleet in March of 2010, and we didn't get another Marine in until like the December of 2010. I was the bottom of the toll for 6 months. Yeah.
Wow.
And we were heavily deploying at this point, so they were just it was something. So we ended up losing the key to our hazardous material, our hazmat locker. So my Sergeant Yeagle, I'm gonna make sure that he knows I talked about this story. So Sergeant Yeagle, he goes, Cummings and Elmore, come with me. My best friend Elmo. We weren't best friends yet at the time, but we were getting close. He was always like the older brother I always wish I had. He was crazier than me. He was bigger than me. He was scarier than me. So like most other times in my life, I befriended the big, scary, mean guy. When most people only saw the fear that he tried to put into people's, into people. Yeah. So we had this 13-pound hammer, right? And we had this giant punch. It was probably like a foot long. It started off about this thick, and then it went to a point, right? So we're trying to break it. We're trying to break the lock. Finally, Sergeant Yeagle goes, Cummings and Elmo, get over here. He goes, Cummings, hold this punch. Elmo, swing this 13-pound hammer as hard as you can so you can break this lock. This dude is 6'2", 225 pounds of muscle. I'm 5'9", 172 pounds. I have this pick. I have this thing, right? I'm holding it. I'm like, just please don't hit me. And Elmo goes, oh, all right. Takes this, doesn't use 2 hands, but he just for emphasis took 2 hands and smashes this lock. He missed the punch completely and smashed my hand. And my thumb instantly went. Oh, man. He starts cackling. He is laughing so hard. He always found it funny when I got hurt. So he's like dying he's literally rolling on the ground of the van pad, right? At Miles 11. My sergeant looks at me. He goes, Cummings, you ain't going to medical. Go get some ice go get some ice. He's like, I'm not filling out a flash report. Go get some ice from the thing. Wrap it up. You'll be fine. Rub some dirt on it. Yeah. And I was so mad. I was like, what the F? Why are these F? Just like straight, like what I talked about, Marines complaining and cursing. And I walked around the van pad like 15 times just cursing and like half crying and just I was like, why would I even agree to that? Obedience and willingness to all orders, no matter how stupid they are. It's unfortunate, but that was the beginning of my Marine Corps career. Didn't get much better from there, because then the sergeant calling the shot. I have so many more stories, but that was a story I like to think that really encompasses not only my shop and why we were so close and why they've had such an impact on me, but the overall of what the Marine Corps is. We are the smartest, dumbest people in the room. And I wouldn't have traded a single moment for any of it. So I really thank you for letting me on your show and tell my stories. Appreciate it, man.
No, it's awesome to listen to him. I got to tell you, I'm not gonna tell a story, although I want to. And a lot of people talk about this. It's the one-up guy, and this guy's coming to one-up you. But for me, you got to remember, man. And I could teach you some ways to even get more stories. But the thing is when someone tells a story, it just hits something in your head that reminds you. It's not about one-upping you, but I have a similar story. So I love to share.
Don't tell a story though. It's called swapping stories for a reason.
Oh man, it's great, man. So I'll have to actually tell you one. I'm not going to waste people's time with my dumb stories because that was perfect. I don't want to break it. But listen, I got to tell you, dealing with the Marine Corps, obviously all 4 services for me, and I even got some coastie friends, which is nice. I enjoy all of that. We can call each other dumb and we can call each other stupid, and we just call each other a lot of names. But the Marines, what I've always loved about the Marines is that, one, that's going to get accomplished. I don't care in the manner it's going to get accomplished. And to me, it's all that really matters. I don't call them dumb because they're actually very intuitive. Although internally, crayon chewers and all these stuff. I hear about Marines from Marines about Marines.
Yeah. We own it. We own it. You know, we're gonna let Army guy make fun of us for eating crayons. Hell yeah, give me hard ones. Give me all of them. I'll do it right now.
But it's great, man. It's awesome, and it does build a lot of camaraderie. And the good thing is there's so much stuff in the Tampa area for you in Tampa. There's so much stuff out here that is veteran-owned, veteran-led. There's so many nonprofits that are very good nonprofits. Again, I know we made mention to Action Zone, which is a huge entrepreneurial, just a great program ran by Rosie Lee. But I can't begin to list the local talent here that's helping local talent, which is amazing. But just down south from Tampa, you have Bradenton, you have Sarasota. There's things down there, and then obviously the audience across the globe, really. Now, I mean, I'm not a huge guy. I'm not like a YouTuber with 20 million downloads. Hell, 20 maybe, but it doesn't matter. I like having a conversation with San Antonio and Military City, USA, and out in San Diego, and just listening to how many great veteran stories there are, but how many great veteran businesses, how many great veteran organizations, nonprofits, for-profits, all kind of different stuff that just is great. So, Adam, I got to tell you, man, one, I appreciate you taking your time to be here with me and sharing your stories. I love to hear your passion because it's genuine, right? You can only fake it for so long, and well, if you're faking it, you've been doing a good job for the past about year and a half, and I know you're not faking it. So I really enjoy you, and I want to continue to see you blossom and just grow and just keep Vetting America growing. And with the help of a lot of folks, we make mention of individual contributors in this area, but taking away Vetting America, Adam, you are one of the biggest contributors in this area for all the work you do in the veteran space, minus your own stuff, right? So with the Action Zone and Operation Startup from before, and hiring our heroes, they had what was the I want to say it because I don't remember it. I remember you volunteering for it. I remember seeing it on Facebook. It was about 6 months ago. Big event. It was here in Tampa, I think, at the Emily Arena. I want to say.
Synapse. Yeah, they're coming back. Yeah, they're having an event this year.
Yeah, so and all those things in which you just put yourself out, and the good thing about it is not just that you're helping the organizations become better. You're actually a face of a veteran that's inspiring goodness in the community, which constantly great, and I appreciate you. So anyhow. Rosie said, Adam is one of my heroes. She also said the military community is the most collaborative in Tampa Bay region, especially so. Nathan K was talking about your message about unity, talking about like for branding. Hey, so listen, real quick, Nathan, if you don't know Adam T, reach out. I mean, I gave his links earlier. I can do it again on the page. Take a look. Nathan's doing some great things in this space as well, the transition space, and I don't know if you've been tracking him. He's out on the scene. He's doing some big stuff, so I'll connect the two of you. But hey, Rosie, thank you for coming on. I know you're not here to see me, Rosie. I know Adam's here, so you're here, and you got to listen to me too. I'm teasing you, and I love you to death. I can't wait to have you on the show because you will be on the show. But anyway, more importantly, thank you all for coming. Adam, thank you for your time. I truly appreciate you, and I look forward to supporting you.
I can't wait. I already know we're going to be working together. We're going to do something. We're going to do something great. It's going to be great.
We're already great. And that's just what you got to remember. We're already great. So here we go, right? Right. now other people have to know it.
Thank you so much for your time, and I had a blast. I knew I was going to have a blast. I was nervous all day for some reason, but it's always a great conversation with you. So
there's no reason to ever be nervous when you got to hear me talking. It's simple, brother. It really is. So there's no reason to be nervous. We're good, and I really appreciate you. And hey, one last thing before we do sign off, I got to tell you, when season 2 starts, do you have the release date for it yet?
No, I'm going to be probably pushing my last 3 episodes of season 1. I start recording the 3rd week of January. I made a lot of changes this year. I updated. I mean, like I said, at the company page now, I got the YouTube channel going. I'm going to be bringing on sponsors. I'm really trying to grow this brand. I really like to get some post-production work into it. So I'm looking to raise some money so that we can take it to that next level. And I actually am trying to take it across the country at some point this year and start actually bringing a film crew to interview some of these veteran organizations and resources in a dirty jobs type format, so that not only are more veterans learning about these resources that deserve that notoriety, but then they're getting the marketing content needed to demonstrate to donors and to other supporters what it is they're doing. So I'm hoping that I can take it to that next level by probably halfway through the year. So we shall.
What I want to tell y'all that are watching right now. So what I want you to do, if you haven't, I want you to go back and check out Vetting America episode 1 and watch the season, right? And go through it. You can skip episodes if so desire, but make sure you see episode 4. That's the one I'm on. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But go through the season. Now, I want you to remember that. He started last year. It wasn't this time last year. It was later on in March. So it started in March. Here we are. And now he's talking about in January going and going around the country with a camera crew. So listen, if you didn't hear him talk about ambition earlier and passion earlier, well, I'm going to tell you, he's going to prove it to you. So the fact that I mean, hey, look, I'm on your side. So whatever we can do to help you get some sponsors and get that word out, hey, I'll share it all day long. I'll put it on my page. I'll share it. You put it out there for us to hit it out. Because hey, I want to see that happen. Your vision needs to be a reality. I love to hear it. Good for you. That's awesome. I'm really proud of you. And it's just nice to see things come together. But anyway, when it does come out, when the first episode is going to be launched, you share it on my page here, and I'll make sure that people get the word, and we'll bring you back on. So maybe we can. And I got another little platform that maybe we can set up, and we can throw out maybe a little bit of a tidbit of the first interview of that season.
Absolutely. And then once I get my website up and running and doing what I need to do, you're more than welcome to build a page. Share our audiences. So I'm about that.
It's great, dude. Love it. All right, man. Anything you want to say before you go?
To all the veterans out there and to all the veteran families, especially the spouses, not just thank you for your service, but thank you for everything it is that you are and that you do. And just understand that we're all in this together, and it's only when you push us away that you're going to find yourself lost. So it's not wrong to be depressed. It's not wrong to be anxious. And it's okay to not be okay. And if you can finally get to that point, we always talk about seeking help and seeking this. I just started counseling actually 2 months ago, and I don't know why I waited so long. And I'll tell you something right now. I'm sitting down with a former combat Marine, who is now a psychologist. His name's Dr. Carlos Garcia out of Tampa, Florida. And he is one of the most incredible human beings I ever met. I actually interviewed him on my show. You can see him in one of the episodes I did. And if you're in Tampa, he has an event coming up in the next week or two where he's going to talk about the psychology of being an entrepreneur. But just to be able to go there and listen to him speak and have a chance to actually talk with him sidebar after the show, you'll see why he's so good at what he does and what he'll possibly be able to do for you. But anywhere else in the country, definitely seek counseling, but seek someone that you can trust and build rapport with, but someone that understands your plight. And if you do that and build that foundation, you'll be okay. I promise you. So thank you so much for that, Jeff.
Outstanding. Well, that's good. That was a good last piece of advice. Usually when I'm on a show and someone says, do you have something to say? I'm like, hey, whatever, but that was actually good. And
fire.
Well thought out, articulated well. No, great job. Hey, man, truly appreciate you, brother. For all y'all that were watching, thanks for stopping by and sharing some of our time. I know we went a little longer than, look, there is, just so you know, if this is your first time watching my show or whatnot, I don't have a time, right? So basically I sit there and I listen to the guest and we kind of go based on what they're talking about. I don't stop them, so you can, look, this is a recording. Like, you don't have to watch it live, but if there's something you want to get, you can get it later. I strip the audio, I put it on iTunes. You can go to any part you want to. It doesn't have to be listened to one time. But it's important to hear the message of the guest that's on because, listen, this is for all of you. I don't know specifically who Adam just touched their life, but I guarantee he's going to touch someone's life, and that's what it's all about. So thank you all for sticking in and hanging out with me. For the most part, I loved all your comments. Not for the most part. I loved all your comments. But I want to tell you, if you have anything to say after, don't hesitate. Put something on the page, and let's start a dialogue on the Facebook page, just because I'd like to see what you all want. I can sit there all day long and tell you what I want. It doesn't matter. It's what you want. I'm here for y'all. So anyway, until next week. Now, Thursday next week, we're going to have Dan Dwyer. He's going to come on. We can't wait to hear him, but it'll be 7.
Dwyer.
Yeah.
Dan Dwyer.
That's it. We're trying to get everybody. We're overloading this year. I'm booked until towards the end of March, and we're going to keep it going. I'm not taking a break. And if I can't do it, guess what? Adam's going to be the sit-in co-host for me. I'm on vacation. No. But come by next week, 7 p.m. Thursday night. We'll be here, and we'll talk to you next time on the other side. Take care, brother. We'll see you later.